Hello children, I welcome you all to an interesting episode of EduSat. This episode is not just interesting but very important from your examination point of view. But why? Because I am going to offer a few very important tips relating to translation and report writing. Now, as I always say, please keep your copies and pens ready with you so that you will be able to note down important points from the slide as I explain them to you, as well as pay very keen attention especially to the exercises that we will be doing to make things easier for you. So, now you know what translation is, but how can we translate a paragraph effectively? How can we do it without any errors? Let me offer you a few valuable tips. Now, let us see what are the important tips we would like to offer for translation and report writing. First, let me tell you about translation. Now, for translating a paragraph in an error-free manner, we need to remember some very important things. What are those? Let us see one by one. The first important point is be concise. Now, when I say be concise, what do I mean? It means start with simple, clear and formal sentences and phrases. Keep things to the point. Do it in a very simplistic way so that you will not get into unnecessary mistakes. So, the first point is be very concise. What are the sub-points? Like I said, start with simple, clear and formal sentences and phrases. Now, let us look at the second tip. What is it? Keep sentences short. Now, what do I mean when I say keep sentences short? It means that we have to limit them between 15 to 20 words for best results. Always remember children that if we unnecessarily prolong the sentences, it will automatically lead to errors. So, we need to be simple, clear and formal while framing sentences. We should keep the sentences short, that is, each sentence should comprise of 15 to 20 words for best results. Thirdly, if a sentence contains multiple ideas or thoughts, break them into one sentence per idea or thought. Now, there are many complicated sentences that you may see in a paragraph that you may need to translate. Now, what you will do in such cases is, you need to see the idea or the thought that the sentence conveys, and then in your own simple formal way, you need to translate the ideas one by one in your mind and then frame them in a grammatically correct manner. Clear? Then, avoid unnecessary complex words and sentences. Why should we do that? Why should we avoid unnecessary words, complicated words and sentences? Because first, there is a risk of spelling errors, and secondly, we may not know where to put that complicated word in the sentence. Clear? Now, moving on to the next slide. What are the next points that you should follow? Write clearly and formally. What do I mean when I say write clearly and formally? We also discussed this point in the first slide. When I said be concise, under that we had discussed this point, which was write clearly and formally. What do we mean by that? Word your documents in such a way so as to avoid cliches, idioms, colloquial expressions and slangs. Remember what you should be avoiding. When you frame a sentence, you should be avoiding certain things. What are those? The first is idioms, the second is cliches, the third is use of colloquial expressions, and the fourth are slangs. These are absolute no's when you translate a particular paragraph. Now, what is the next point? Consider the literal meaning of words and try to express them instead. Now, when I look at a particular word, what will I do? I will try to gather its meaning. I will try to know what the word is, what it wants to convey, what its meaning is literally, and then I will try to convey the expressions or the ideas behind the usage of the word in that particular paragraph that we wish to translate. Now, the next particular sub-point, children, is very, very important, and that is avoid ambiguity. What is ambiguity? In simple words, it is confusion or being vague. So, when I say avoid ambiguity, what do I mean? I mean try not to use words that have more than one meaning. For example, use movie instead of films, use painting or photographs instead of picture. Words ending in ing can sometimes be ambiguous, such as I have given you a few examples. Look at them. Rowing, which can be a noun or a verb, and wherever possible, what we will do? We will choose an alternative. Now, what is the next point that we need to be careful about? Always check spelling and grammar. Incorrect spelling or grammar often leads to translation errors. How? I have given you an example. For example, if a word is spelled incorrectly, the translator will not be able to identify the word. So, children, what have we discussed so far? Three very important points, which are: be concise, keep your sentences formal and to the point, avoid ambiguity, and next is always check spelling errors and grammar. Because if we don't do that, the paragraph or the sentence that we wish to translate will not convey its meaning to the readers. Next, include appropriate accents. Always use the correct accent marks in your text. Beware of punctuation pitfalls and avoid the use of complicated punctuation marks such as parentheses and hyphens. We all know what a hyphen is, we all know what a parenthesis is. So, what is advisable during translation? We should not make use of parentheses and hyphens. We should be aware of all the punctuation marks that we use while translation, and the appropriate meaning of the sentence that is there in the paragraph should be conveyed after we translate it as required. Now, like I told you, I offered you a few important tips relating to translation. We will now translate the following sentences into Oriya. We have exercises, and the first exercise that we have is translating a few sentences in Oriya. These sentences contain nouns, pronouns, verbs, phrases, action verbs. They contain so many things. So, let us see how we translate a particular sentence into Oriya, so that after you translate it, it appears grammatically correct. Clear? So, what is the first sentence? I can put this potato easily into the can. Now, what is the correct way to translate this? Mu ehi alutiku sahajare ei tina daba bhitere bharti kari paribi. Now, look how the subject, object, etc. are framed so that the sentence appears grammatically correct. The buzzing of bees woke me up from my sleep. How have we translated it? Mohumachi manankara gunjana mote nidoru uthai dela. Now, look at the word buzzing. It's an action. Bees woke me up from my sleep. See, how it is arranged in a way so that it will appear grammatically correct. Now, there are different ways in translation. For example, when we are translating nouns, phrasal verbs, action verbs, there are different ways in which we go about things. These are all certain examples of sentences, very simple sentences, but these show that how you will translate them so that they appear appropriate and grammatically correct. Now, the table about the monkey's tail was very interesting. ମାଙ୍କଡ଼ର ଲାଞ୍ଜ ସମ୍ପର୍କିତ ଗପଟି ଭାରି ବଢ଼ିଆ ହୋଇଥିଲା. The screen of the monitor is not clean. Monitorର ପରଦା ସଫା ନାହିଁ. Now look, particular meaning of the word screen. We know how screen is translated into. We have not been ambiguous. We have literally translated the word screen, which is poroda. Monitor poroda safha nahi. The bishop declared the poor man innocent. Bishop garibo lokotiku nirdosha ghoshana kale. Now, what do you mean by a bishop? Bishop is a Christian priest. So, what did he do? He considered the poor man innocent. Now, see how the words are arranged. You have to make sure that whenever you translate, after you have translated the entire sentence, it appears grammatically correct. That should be your main concern. First, there should be no spelling errors. Second, you should appear grammatically correct. And third, appropriate use of punctuation marks. What do I mean by punctuation marks? Your question mark, your full stops, your exclamatory marks, and avoid using unnecessary punctuation marks such as parentheses or hyphens. Clear? Moving on to the next sentence. The mewing of cats in the morning is not considered auspicious. How will we translate this, children? We will translate it as ସକାଳେ ବିରାଡ଼ି ମାନଙ୍କର ମିଆଉ ଅଶୁଭ ଧରି ନିଆଯାଏ. Okay? So, that is how, see, now here again we have an action. What is the action? Mewing of the cats. We again have a time which is morning. Considered auspicious is not considered auspicious. How are we translating it? ସକାଳେ ବିରାଡ଼ି ମାନଙ୍କ ମିଆଉ ଅଶୁଭ ଧରି ନିଆଯାଏ. Now, the distant sight of the sight is not appealing. Now, in this particular sentence, pay particular attention. Why? Because sight and sight are two different things. You need to translate them literally. Like I said, you have to know the literal meaning of the terms and then translate it accordingly. So, how do we translate this? ସ୍ଥାନଟି ଦୂରରୁ ଦେଖିବାକୁ ସୁନ୍ଦର ନୁହେଁ. Not appealing means sundaro nuhe. And children, like I said, I hope you all have your copies and pencils out so that whatever exercises we are doing here for the purpose of revision, you are noting them down accordingly. Okay. Now, who knows when the satellite would reach Mars? See, there is use of a punctuation mark. So, what will we do? Upagraha ମଙ୍ଗଳ ଗ୍ରହରେ କେବେ ପହଞ୍ଚିବ କିଏ ଜାଣିଛି? See how the particular punctuation mark is used. You can also use a comma here after କେବେ ପହଞ୍ଚିବ, but that is up to you. We can put a comma, we cannot put a comma, doesn't matter, but ଉପଗ୍ରହ ମଙ୍ଗଳ ଗ୍ରହରେ କେବେ ପହଞ୍ଚିବ, if we put a comma, maybe it will sound a little more effective. କିଏ ଜାଣିଛି? Okay? What can I do if none except you accepts my proposal? Look at the literal usage of words. Accept and accept. You have to translate these words literally. So, what will be the correct translation? ଯଦି ତୁମ ଛଡ଼ା ଆଉ କେହି ମୋ ପ୍ରସ୍ତାବ ଗ୍ରହଣ ନ କରେ ମୁଁ କ'ଣ କରିବି? Now, look. The punctuation marks are also appropriately placed. Children, always remember one thing, you have to literally translate the word first. Even though the words may appear similar to your ears, you have to make sure that you translate them literally and then place them appropriately in your sentence so that it appears correct. Similarly, I have to book my tickets in advance. How will you translate it? Mate mo ticket agrima booking karibako padibo. I am sure children, all of you would have understood how translation goes. In the next segment, we will discuss about report writing. So children, now that we have discussed about translation, in the next segment we come to another very interesting activity which also has exercises to help you prepare for your examinations. What is that? I will offer you a few effective tips on report writing. Now, before we go into that, in exercise 2, I have translated a few words and phrases into English for you. Look at the words: networking, bangle stand, headband of the village, horse riding. How will I translate them? Excuse me. For example, if I translate the headman of the village, it is ga mukhya. If I translate horse riding, it is ghoda chodha. If I translate networking, it is networking simply in Odia. And a beautiful birthday gift, Ekko Sundara Janmadina Upahara. Similarly, a few more examples: the damaged roads, kharab rasta, localization, sthanikarana, country made, swadesi, my sister's classmate, mo bhonira sahapathini. Now, like I have been telling you, after translation we will come to a very important segment which is report writing. Now, for report writing, I am sure all of you will know what the format is, but yet again I have discussed it for your convenience. Report writing format. Please note down the important points, children. I am sure you will need it while you revise. So, what is the report writing format, or how is it framed? How is a report framed? Now, when it comes to writing a report, there are various formats that various people choose depending on specific requirements and guidelines which may be provided in your question paper by your organization, institution or supervisor. However, the following format that I am going to discuss, it provides a general structure that can be adapted to most report writing situations. Like the paragraph explains, there are many kinds of report writing formats depending upon your requirements and guidelines that have been provided to you, either by your supervisor who has set your question paper or by the agency who wishes you to write a report and so on. But here we will discuss a general guideline that is suitable for almost all kinds of reports. Okay. So, what do we have? Title of the report. The first subheading is title of the report. What do we see in title of the report? Clearly and concisely state the title of the report. You have to be very clear. Then the author's name, include the name of the person or the team responsible for writing the report and mention the date when the report is submitted. Now, in table of contents, what will we keep? We will provide a list of sections and subsections with the respective page numbers for easy navigation. We will keep an abstract. What does it mean? We will offer a brief overview of the report, summarize the main objectives, findings and recommendation. And like I said in translation, we will keep it concise. We will highlight the key points in a very clear and simple manner. Now, when we start with the introduction, how will we do it? State the purpose and the objectives of a report, provide background information or context relevant to the report's subject matter, outline the scope and limitations of the report. Clear? So, this is how we will introduce a particular report. Now, when we go into the methodology, what do you mean by methodology? How we compose a report or how we go into it further. What will we do? We will describe the research methods or approaches used in gathering data or conducting the study. We will explain the sources of information, data collection techniques or any tools or instruments that have been employed. What are the findings and results? What does this include? We will present the main findings, observations or results of the study or research. We will use headings, subheadings, bullet points for clarity. We will include relevant data, facts, figures, statistics and support them with proper references. Then we have the analysis and the discussion part. What do we see here? We will interpret and analyze the findings, provide insights and explanations. We will relate the results to the objectives. We will compare and contrast different findings, identify patterns or highlight significant trends. And ultimately, we will discuss any limitations or challenges encountered during the research process. Now, when we conclude a report, what do we have? We will summarize the key points discussed in the report. We will draw conclusions based on findings and analysis. We will address the research objectives and we will offer practical suggestions or actions based on the report's findings. We will clearly outline the steps and measures that should be taken to address the issues and capitalize further on opportunities. Now, in references and appendices, this is not a compulsory section in report writing. You may have references, you may not have references, appendices if applicable, then only. Okay. So, we will list all the sources and references used in the report following appropriate citation style and we will include supplementary materials which may be raw data, charts, graphs or detailed citations that support a particular report. Now, like I said, I will give you two very quick examples. The first is an example of report writing which is magazine report writing. See, a particular school, ABC public school, this is just an example. Your school has adopted a village as a social responsibility. Students are being taken to teach the children of that village on a regular basis. Write a report for your school magazine. This is a report for a school magazine on the various other programs that have been organized there in 150 words. So, just look at this particular format. On the occasion of World Literacy Day, ABC Public School Delhi has taken an oath to embrace the village named Rajpur. We have clearly stated the objective, we have clearly stated the title. Now, the school has taken responsibility of educating the people residing in the village. We have clearly decided that we will state what the school has done and then what are the steps that have been taken. For example, that children have gone and taught the illiterate villagers to read and write. Free books and stationery have been distributed. I am sure all of you can read the format on your screens. So, what have we done is very clearly we have shown you how to write a report by an example. Now, similarly, they have included all different points that the report needs. For example, apart from special needs, care is also devoted to hygiene and sanitation. Girls are being made aware on the importance of menstrual hygiene. Talent hunts have been organized which has left everybody overawed. See how they have included all appropriate points in the report. They have introduced the purpose very clearly. They have then gone to outline their activities and these are all kinds of things that can be included in the report to make it interesting, formal and to the point. And then what do we have? It shows how it is concluding, how it is concluded. A family kind of environment is being created. School treats the people of the village as its own students and is unbiased. By adopting a village, the school is making its students sensitive towards the needs of the environment at a young age. It is committed towards raising leaders of tomorrow. See how very effectively this report is done. So, I have shown you this example of magazine report writing. I am sure all of you have the slide displayed on your screens. You can see how it is formatted. Okay? Now, example of newspaper report writing, that was a magazine and this is a newspaper. For example, if you are asked to write a newspaper report on a bus accident taking ideas from the following hints. A few hints will be given to you. Look at the hints. Shimla, April 4th, bus skidded, Chamba district, 10 killed, 25 injured, mini truck accident, pickup van fell into the gorge. So, taking these hints, you have to frame an appropriate report. So, let us look at the particular report that has been framed. So, see, the topic has been introduced, the date mentioned, all the hints have been included. For example, where the bus fell over, what happened, how the citizens were admitted, all the things have been mentioned in this particular report. Look at the format first. 10 killed in Himachal accident, Thursday, April 4, 2013, Shimla, April 4th. And this is how it has been concluded. So, we have followed all effective tips relating to report writing. I am sure children, all of you would have taken down the tricks and tips relating to report writing and translation. I am sure if you follow this, you will do very well in your examinations. Thank you.